Have you ever looked at a successful person and thought, they must have made all the right decisions? Or looked at someone who lost everything and thought, they simply made bad choices? We like simple explanations for complicated outcomes. But when it comes to money, simple explanations can be dangerous because sometimes success involves good decisions. Sometimes it involves good luck. And sometimes failure involves bad decisions. Bad luck or a combination of both. This is one of the most important ideas in The Psychology of Money by Housel. And understanding it can completely change the way you think about wealth. Imagine two people starting with the same amount of money. They have similar intelligence, similar ambition, and similar levels of financial knowledge. One becomes wealthy over the next 20 years. The other struggles financially. It's tempting to assume that the wealthy person simply made better decisions. Perhaps they did. But what if one person happened to meet the right business partner? What if the other experienced a serious illness, a job loss, or a family emergency? What if one started investing during a period of unusually strong economic growth? And what if the other entered the market just before a major downturn? Their decisions still matter. But their outcomes aren't created by decisions alone. This is where luck and risk enter the picture. Luck is something that benefits you without being entirely caused by your actions. Risk is the possibility that something you didn't expect could happen. And here's the uncomfortable part. We often notice luck only after someone succeeds. We notice risk only after something goes wrong. That creates a distorted view of reality. Suppose someone invests a large amount of money in one risky asset and becomes extremely wealthy. People might call that person brilliant. But what if the investment could easily have gone in the opposite direction? A good outcome doesn't automatically prove that the decision was good. And a bad outcome doesn't automatically prove that the decision was foolish. This distinction is incredibly important. Think about insurance. You might pay for insurance for years without ever making a claim. Does that mean buying insurance was a bad decision? Not necessarily. You were paying to protect yourself against an uncertain but potentially devastating event. The absence of disaster doesn't make the protection worthless. The same principle applies to an emergency fund. If you save 6 months of living expenses and nothing goes wrong, you might feel that the money is sitting there doing nothing. But that's exactly the point. Financial security isn't always visible. Sometimes wealth is simply the absence of a financial crisis. Now let's look at a famous example. Bill Gates became one of the world's wealthiest people through extraordinary ability, hard work, ambition, and business decisions. But Gates also attended Lakeside School, which gave him access to a computer at a remarkably early stage. That opportunity was unusual at the time. His talent mattered. His effort mattered. But circumstances mattered too. This doesn't diminish his achievements. It simply reminds us that success usually has more than one cause, and that should make us more humble. When judging other people's lives, it should also make us more careful. When copying successful people, you can copy someone's strategy without being able to copy their circumstances. And that's a major mistake in personal finance. Someone bought a property and became wealthy. So you assume buying property must be the answer. Someone invested heavily in a particular company and made a fortune. So you assume you should do the same. But you don't know what risks they took, what resources they had, or how much luck influenced the result. You are looking at their outcome, not their complete story. So what should we do with this knowledge? First, stop judging financial decisions only by their outcomes. Instead, ask whether the decision was sensible, given what was known at the time. Second, build room for things to go wrong. Don't create a financial plan that only works in perfect conditions. Leave space for emergencies, job changes, unexpected expenses, and bad timing. Third, be careful when learning from success. Don't ask only, what did this person do? Ask, what could have gone wrong? That second question can reveal the hidden risks behind the success. There's another powerful lesson here. You don't need to predict the future perfectly to build wealth. You need a financial system that can survive an uncertain future. That might mean spending less than you earn, building an emergency fund, avoiding excessive debt, diversifying your investments, and giving your investments enough time to grow. None of these guarantees wealth, but together they can make your financial life more resilient. And resilience is often more valuable than trying to be spectacular. Think about that for a moment. You don't necessarily need the highest return. You need a strategy you can stick with through difficult periods. You don't need to predict every market crash. You need to avoid a financial position where one crash destroys you. You don't need to know exactly what the future will look like. You need to be prepared for several possible futures. So here's your challenge this week. Think about one financial decision that worked out extremely well for you. Ask yourself, how much of this result came from my decisions, and how much came from circumstances? Then think about a financial mistake. Ask yourself, what could I have controlled? And what couldn't I? This simple exercise can make you less arrogant when things go well, and less hopeless when things go badly. Because the goal isn't to control everything. You can't. The goal is to control the things that are actually within your control. Your savings rate, your spending habits, your level of debt, your patience, and your ability to keep going when the outcome doesn't go your way. Luck will always play a role in money. Risk will always exist. But you can build a life that doesn't depend on everything going perfectly. And perhaps that is one of the deepest lessons of the psychology of money. You don't have to predict the future. You have to prepare for it.